Welcome to Beekeeping Today podcast presented by Bee Culture. Beekeeping Today podcast is your source for beekeeping news, information, and entertainment. I'm Jeff Ott.
And I'm Kim Flatham.
Hey, Jeff and Kim. Today's sponsor is Global Patties. They're a family-operated business that manufactures protein supplement patties for honeybees. It's a good time to think about honeybee nutrition. Feeding your hives protein supplement patties will ensure that they produce strong and healthy colonies by increasing brood production and overall honey flow. Now is a great time to consider what type of patty is right for your area and your honeybees. Global offers a variety of standard patties as well as custom patties to meet your needs. No matter where you are, Global is ready to serve you out of their manufacturing plants in Airdrie, Alberta, and in Butte, Montana, or from distribution depots across the continent. Visit them today at www.globalpatties.com.
Thanks, Global Patties, and thank you, Sherry. Hey, everybody. You know, each week we get to talk about how much we appreciate our sponsor support, and we know you'd rather us get right to talking about beekeeping. However, our great sponsors are critical to help making all of this happen, from the transcripts, the hosting fees, the software, the hardware, the microphones, the recorders. They enable each episode. So with that, thanks to Bee Culture Magazine for continuing their presenting sponsorship of this podcast. Bee Culture's been the magazine for American beekeeping since 1873. Subscribe to Bee Culture today. We want to welcome back Hive Alive as an episode sponsor. Hive Alive is the #1 liquid feed supplement for honeybees worldwide. It contains a unique blend of seaweed extracts, thyme, and lemongrass. The formula has been proven to help bees produce more honey, improve bee gut health, and improve overwinter survival. Ask about Hive Alive at your local beekeeping store or visit their website at usa.hivealivebees.com for more information. We also want to thank 2 Million Blossoms to sponsor this episode. 2 Million Blossoms is dedicated to protecting all pollinators. Listen to Kirsten Trainer's 2 Million Blossoms, the podcast at 2millionblossoms.com, and that is with a number 2, available from the website or for wherever you download and stream your shows. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We got a different show lined up for you today. First off, I'll just let you know, Kim's out in the bee yard. He couldn't get back in time. He's sweeping the snow off the front of the beehives from the weekend snow. So he'll be joining us in just a little bit when we talk to Brian Peterson-Roest of the Bees and D. And if you remember, Brian was one of the bees from the Bees and D podcast episode we had back in December of 2019. They have a great program going on in Detroit, focused on education, but also spreading the good word about pollinators and honey to corporate America there, centered in the southeast Michigan area. Well, as you're aware, the Russia invasion of Ukraine has been touched many, many, many lives around the world. It's unprecedented in recent time. It's impacted many businesses, many lives, most importantly. However, one of the impacts has been that to beekeepers and to Apimondia. Coming up next, I have with us Dr. Jeff Pettis. Jeff Pettis is the former USDA ARS research leader in Beltsville, and he specialized in pests and diseases and pesticides, and he was last on with us in May of 2020. You might want to check out that episode. I was fortunate enough to talk to Jeff yesterday morning, right after he got off the plane from Europe, and he has some important information and updates about Apimondia 2022. Let's listen to that right now. Hi, Jeff. Welcome back to Beekeeping Today podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time off a busy schedule to be here to give us the latest update on Apimondia.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be with you and good to be talking to your audience. So, yeah, be glad to talk about the changes and things that have happened in Apimondia in this past little bit. Yeah.
The world's in quite a turmoil right now, and Apimondia unfortunately got caught up in that. Can you give us a little bit of background on the decision-making process, and then finally what the decisions have been made at Apimondia?
Sure. We met in Montreal, I guess it was 2019, and we were scheduled to meet in 2021 in Ufa, Russia, in Bashkortostan, the province of Bashkortostan. And then COVID hit. And so, COVID, almost no travel. Yeah. So we pushed that decision. We pushed it back a year to keep that we would meet in 2022 in Ufa, Russia. Well, this past, week and a half or something, it became more and more obvious that Russia was not a possibility. We didn't come out immediately with a decision on the UFA Congress simply because we had to go through a process. We had to go check legally, et cetera, et cetera. But the decision was made, I think it's been 5 or 6 days ago now. We announced it that the UFA Congress was canceled. So we made that official, and it was unanimous among our executive committee. Then the next thing is, do we hold a Congress on a short order somewhere else? Or do we wait and go to Santiago, Chile in 2023, which we're scheduled to do?
Okay. So the Congress is held every 2 years?
Every 2 years. So every 2 years. And we tend, the unofficial oscillation is we're in a European area, Eastern, Western Europe, whatever, in Europe. And then we meet outside of Europe. So it kind of oscillates back and forth. So we met in the Americas, in Canada. And then we were supposed to come back into Europe for this one. And then we meet again. Now we go back to the Americas. It just happened to be South America. We're going to Santiago, Chile. Prior to that, we'd gone to places like we were in South Korea. So our outside meeting outside of Europe was in South Korea. So yeah, we meet every 2 years. Yeah. Every 2 years we try to meet. So we met this morning. We just met as an executive committee this morning.
And this is Sunday. This is Sunday.
This is Sunday.
Yeah.
This is Sunday. And because we span the globe, I am the furthest east, I guess. And so I'm up at 6 a.m. to be on the call. And we have colleagues in Philippines and Australia who are about ready to go to bed. Yeah. So we have to span that globe. And so we met this morning again. We met about 4 times recently, just going over the different scenarios. And we were down to 2 possible sites, and we decided on Istanbul, Turkey. So Istanbul, Turkey will host Apiamundia Congress in 2022.
Oh, wow.
So we decided that this morning. The only thing that couldn't be decided was the exact dates. We're still thinking the first week of September, but we're at 2 different Congress venues, and their dates are slightly different. So until we lock that in, which we'll do in couple of days. So by the time this thing airs, it may be on our website, the firm dates, but it will be Istanbul. It will be a full Congress. And part of that decision was because our conference organizing team is based there. And in a way, it's kind of apolitical. We go there because it's short notice. We can carry everything out. If you can imagine trying to move a major Congress to a new venue,
oh my gosh,
there was a lot of logistics to consider.
Oh, yeah. How many people do typically attend a Congress?
Good question. Our biggest Congresses have been up to 12,000.
Yeah.
And on the low end, probably in the 3,000 to 4,000. So it depends on the venue and things like that. It kind of oscillates, but we typically attract between 6,000 and 8,000 people from all over the globe to an Apiamundia Congress.
I was fortunate and able to attend the Congress up in Vancouver, British Columbia.
In 99.
And that was fun, and it was just crazy.
So the thing to me, and this, I started out as a student going to Apiamundia, and then I was a scientist going and speaking at Apiamundia. And to me, the whole thing about an Apiamundia Congress is you get beekeepers and scientists and other people all together, and you can talk and interact with people from all over the globe. So it's really that atmosphere. And you're right. I mean, Vancouver, I was living in Vancouver at the time. I was a postdoc. And I helped the group organize them. I participated. And I thought the Vancouver meeting was great.
Yes.
And
this schedule going to Istanbul, approximately the same time frame, within a week or two. So that helps anybody preparing papers or targeting that for their papers. That keeps them on schedule.
Yep. So we already had opened the, I had this note to make sure I said that. We've had the abstract submission open for, 3 or 4 weeks. So we'll be contacting all those people. Would you still want to keep your paper submitted? But now it's not UFA Russia. Now it's Istanbul, Turkey. And that's the first question. And the second question, we'll reach out to those who haven't submitted. Or would you now consider coming to Istanbul and presenting? So we're going to, anything that's been submitted so far, abstract-wise, we'll continue to consider it, and we'll ask them if they want to attend or not.
Yeah.
The other part of the Congress that's really important and people really enjoy is the AP Expo, where we have all this trade show. And those people who submitted to UFA they can work with our Congress organizer and say, okay, I'd like a booth in Istanbul. I'm going to, and then they also have the option. This is kind of important. So let's say we use AI Root, and they want to have a booth in Ufa, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
They have the option of taking that same thing and either coming to Istanbul or going to Santiago, Chile. So we're going to be very flexible.
Yeah.
And some people have already signed contracts and submitted funds and stuff to hold a space for a booth. And we'll be very flexible in how they use that booth. They can withdraw completely. They can go to Istanbul and then go to Istanbul and Santiago, or just Santiago.
We're running up on a real quick time. I told you it'd only take a few seconds here this Sunday morning, but was there legal issues to have to deal with the hotel and the conference center in Ufa?
We just wanted to make sure that we were covered as far as canceling in Ufa. We don't think there was any exposure, but we had to go through a process and formally, and in the future we may, and we've had that before, where you have this, there's an inability to have the Congress in a certain city to make sure there's no legal obligation. So it's unfortunate. And I would like to say one thing: we're not trying to punish the Russian beekeepers. They have nothing to do with what's going on, by the Russian hierarchy. It's a shame. So, but it was impossible to hold anything in Russia this year.
Yeah, I absolutely agree and support the decision. Very good, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking the time. You said you just got back into Atlanta area from Paris, and now you're going to go pick up some bees. So I'll let you go do that. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about Apimondia before we let you go?
Well, yeah, I'll just say, some of you are stationed in the U.S. I'm going to South Georgia to pick up some good Georgia bees. I'm a Georgia native. So
there you go.
There's a plug for Georgia bees. We hope to see you at an Apimondia Congress. I think beekeepers around the globe enjoy it, and just come. If you can come to Istanbul this year, do. And if not, maybe we'll see you in Santiago, Chile. And look forward to seeing old friends and familiar faces soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And appreciate all the hard work you've been doing for all of Apimondia and especially in the last couple of weeks, given the world events.
It's been trying. Yep.
I bet it has. All right. Thanks a lot. Safe travels.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Apimondia 2022 is in Istanbul. Check the Apimondia website for more information and exact dates. Our old friend Ed Colby is back this week with a story from his Tales from the Bee Yards, and this also happens to deal with Apimondia in the Ukraine. Let's listen to him now.
The registration line at Apimondia, the International Bee Conference in Kyiv, Ukraine, took 5 hours, mostly outside in the rain. Once inside the building, it got tight. The crowd hydraulics were so powerful, our friend Therese levitated and tilted sideways in the crush. Think of it. People couldn't breathe. Some cried out for mercy. 4 registration booths handled thousands of conferees. 1 copy machine and not enough toner. The Germans nearly rioted. No one died. That was on Sunday. By Monday, when my sidekick Marilyn and I registered, it was a breeze. At least it wasn't raining. With one of us to hold the other's place in line, we drank espresso, ate open-faced lox sandwiches, and learned how to say toilet in Russian. We struggled to communicate with cheerful Ukrainian beekeepers, threw our arms around strangers, and posed for pictures. An English-speaking economist with shocking red lips, in a sleeveless black fur dress, invited us to visit her in Belarus. There were odd moments, like when we finally arrived at the door to get inside and met a horde of already registered conferees being denied admittance to the building. They wanted to get to a lecture upstairs. The official language of the conference was supposed to be English, but all the door guards could say was "Niet." 2 hours later, Marilyn and I had our conference passes, and we could look back and laugh at it all. Airline travel has trained us to accept and even expect the absurd. You learn to shut up and wait in line. But Teresa's levitation story riveted this claustrophobe. I wonder if I'd snap. Inside the hall, the trade show featured hundreds of exhibitors. I learned about high-tech Lison Polish honey extractors, Austrian Bee Vital herbal chalk brood treatments, a Romanian machine to extract bee bread, the expansion of beekeeping in Tanzania. The lectures ran the gamut, from dynamic to inscrutable. We native speakers get spoiled. We expect the world to come to us, and it generally does. But if you attend a talk titled, East Java Propolis inhibits cytokine pro-inflammatory in odontoblast-like cells, human pulp, you may be in over your head. The University of Maryland's Dennis Van Engelstorp hammered on a favorite theme, the inability of some beekeepers to adapt to change. He showed a bell curve that graphed people according to their willingness to accept new ideas. Then he polled the audience about their cell phone use. Who got a cell phone early on? Who waited a while? Who had an iPhone? And finally, who today still doesn't have a cell phone? That would be me. Marilyn and I were in the front row, and I was too sheepish to look back and see who else raised their hand. We went on a 3-day Ukrainian beekeeping tour with other Apimondia visitors before the conference. So luckily, we had a cadre of new friends. Nothing like a familiar face halfway around the world. I was eating at the sandwich wagon outside the main hall when I spied a spare, graying gent letting his freak flag fly. He sported a blue jean jacket that advertised CC Pollen, Phoenix, Arizona. I thought, I wonder who that is. Must have worked for Bruce at CC Pollen once. Then it hit me. That had to be Bruce. I'd only heard his gravelly voice on the phone before, and in my mind's eye, he looked a little more, businesslike maybe. That phone voice for sure had short hair. I wolfed my sandwich and ran after him, but he'd already vanished into the crowd. Later, we caught up, so I got to say, Bruce Brown, I presume? Bruce is a smart guy and an international operator, but he doesn't show you all his cards right away. We kept running into each other. Finally, outside the catacombs of the Kijevo-Pečerska Monastery, where a beggar approached us. Using unmistakable sign language, the beggar informed us he was hungry. What can you do? Jesus commands us to feed the hungry. We gave him some hryvnias, but it didn't end there. The beggar demanded more. Then it got ugly. A shopkeeper with a stick finally chased him off. Tourists were always a mark. Later, Marilyn got her pocket picked in the subway. The thief unzipped the pouch hung around her neck. He never found her passport or most of her cash, tucked inside separate compartments. She lost her debit card and her Garfield County Library card. I said, some pickpocket's going to come to the States and check out a bunch of books on your card, and you'll get the fine when they don't come back. So we had a little bad luck. We had some good luck in Ukraine, too. I'll tell you all about the good luck another time.
Well, we all could use some good luck in the Ukraine. Thanks, Ed, and we look forward to your next story. Well, everybody, thanks a lot for putting up with just me in the opening segment of Beekeeping Day podcast. Kim's going to be with us with Brian and Bees and the D here shortly. And next week, he'll be here with us with a update from Bee Books Old and New with Kim Flodham, sponsored by Northern Bee Books. All right, let's get on with the show. But first, a quick word from our friends at Strong Microbials.
Hello, beekeepers. Your honeybees face a lot of challenges out there. Unbalanced food sources from monoculture crops, holding yards, drought, food shortages, antibiotics, pesticides, and pathogens like chalk brood. To overcome these challenges, your bees need the multiple bacteria that are in all nectars, pollens, and the environment. These bacteria aid honeybees' digestion and improve your honeybees' response and resilience to pesticides. Now you can help improve your honey colony health with a quick, easy, and safe-to-use product. Strong Microbial's Super DFM honeybee uses naturally occurring bacteria to restore the healthy gut biome of your honeybees. Check them out today at www.strongmicrobials.com.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. We really appreciate our sponsor support. Sitting across the virtual Zoom table right now is Brian Peterson-Roest. We welcome you back. You were with us back in 2019 from Bees in the D, fresh in downtown Detroit. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. It's always great to be with you guys.
It's good to see you back again, Brian. From what I hear, you guys have been doing well.
You know, despite the pandemic, we just keep moving along, and actually it's kind of opened up some other doors and allowed us to do some things that we probably would have never done if it wasn't for it. So yeah, doing well.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, we had you back on December 2019. That was season 2, episode 10 for us. Can you tell us a little bit about what Bees in the D does, the origin, your beginning story, if you will, and what you do, and bring us up to date?
Sure, I would love to. So Bees in the D actually was started in 2016, but I have been beekeeping for about 14 years. So I was already a beekeeper for quite a few years before we decided to start the nonprofit. Moved to the city, kind of missed having bees right at my fingertips. And so we contacted a couple of friends that own businesses downtown and said, "You got a little roof space?" And they said yes. And we started with 6 hives that first year in 2016. And then it just kept, the word got out. And then when we put our bees up on the conference center, which is now Huntington Place, it was TCF Center, it was Cobo, that really got attention. So we went from the 6 hives to 29 the next year. And then we went up to 102 the year after that. And then up to 200.
Wow.
And now we're going to have about 220 hives at about 65 locations this coming season. But our main thing is education and conservation, not just of honeybees, but of all pollinators. And so it's been really fun to really do a lot of cool events and help educate people about the importance of our pollinators.
That's interesting, because your paying gig, your paying job is a 5th grade school teacher. We're chatting about that a little bit before we started recording, but you're also maintaining over 200 colonies. You're not doing that all yourself.
No, I'm very lucky and fortunate to have wonderful beekeeper volunteers. Actually, one of our volunteers, Hank, has been beekeeping for over 40 years, and he is just, I love when I get to be together with him because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And actually, we've just taken on another beekeeper that's been doing beekeeping for quite a while. And we've actually just formed a partnership with Heroes to Hives, which you've probably heard of, where there are veterans that learn beekeeping. And a lot of those beekeepers that are trained, especially here in Southeast Michigan, live in an environment, apartments, things that they couldn't have their own hives. And so it's a great partnership for us because now we have hives and they can manage some of the hives almost like they're their own, but it's kind of a partnership with Bees in the D.
Well, that is a great partnership. It is.
Yeah, we're it's like perfect. And it's been a real blessing to have it.
Absolutely.
How many people you got involved doing all of that, Brian?
So our volunteer list is now up to 400. But that's not beekeepers.
Wow.
We have a lot of people that are interested in what we're doing in social media. And now that we're going to be, which we'll probably be talking about in a little bit, having some botanical gardens in our pollinator center, the majority of those volunteers are very excited about getting their hands dirty and working in the soil and helping to keep the gardens looking great and helping to keep great way stations for our pollinators. So, but at the core, it's a dozen or 2 dozen that really are instrumental in, the ins and outs of Bees in the D.
What is your core mission and vision?
So we really stem on 2 pillars, education and conservation. Education would probably be the main goal. of course, me being a teacher. But I really want to help educate people about the importance of our pollinators, not just, honeybees, but the native bees as well, because of how important they are to not only the ecosystem, but our own food industry. It's not our goal to make everybody a beekeeper, because that's not for the majority of the people, but it is our goal to help them understand the basics of pollination and how important our bees are to the big picture of things. And then, of course, the conservation side, especially with some of our native bees that actually are even being put on an endangered species list, really sharing that importance of how we can help in that situation, whether it's planting a small pollinator garden, putting out water for them, using less pesticides, just all kinds of different ways that people can help.
We welcome Hive Alive back as an episode sponsor. Hive Alive is the #1 liquid feed supplement for honeybees worldwide. It contains a unique blend of seaweed extracts, thyme, and lemongrass. Hive Alive has been proven to increase bee strength, produce more honey, improve bee gut health, and improve overwinter survival. Ask about Hive Alive and new Hive Alive fondant and pollen patty at your local beekeeping store, or visit the website usa.hivealivebees.com for more information.
Brian, you mentioned you have 200 plus hives you're going to have this year, and you started with hives on the roof of a building, one of the businesses. Are all of your hives on roofs, or are you spread out a little bit more?
No, most of them actually are on the ground because it is a little bit more convenient. But when we're in the more core downtown area, it's just convenient. Roof space is kind of wasted. And then we're even fortunate enough that we're on a few green roofs, which is not only a gorgeous picture, but it's kind of cool to have that, sustainability and to work with businesses with that. So, for example, right on Woodward Avenue at the Shinola Hotel, which has become a very popular place to stay in Detroit, we have 4 hives on the historic Singer building. And our urban bees, I think that's what's fun about Bees in the D. We're spread out across 5 counties in Southeast Michigan, and we go as far north, an hour north of the city, an hour west of the city, and an hour south of the city. And so we have hives in rural locations, in suburban locations, and in urban locations. And so it's kind of fun for us to get to see the difference in the beekeeping. And then a really fun aspect of that is we don't mix our honeys. So all of our honey harvests are small batch to the location. And so that's so fun because of the different colors and the different flavors that people get to taste the different profiles and realize that it really does make a difference what resources the bees are going to, or the time of year of when they're foraging to that honey. And so we do a lot of fun honey sampling events as well, where people get to enjoy that.
Do you label them as such coming from
We do
this
actually.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so on our jars, we have a safety seal. And on that safety seal is a QR code that goes to our webpage, but we handwrite on the safety seal a little code. So, for example, it still goes by TCF, but it's now the Huntington place. But if it's on the TCF center, if it's that honey, it will have a TCF. And then when you scan it and you go to our webpage, it has the codes, and it allows you to see not only on a map where those hives are, but we're actually working with Best Bees as well to do the DNA analysis of the honey, so that we can also let people know the flavor profiles, what flowers the bees went to create those profiles.
Very smart.
We're still in the works of doing that. So that's not on the webpage yet, but we're looking forward to getting that up and running as well.
That'll be very cool.
That would be, yes, that would be very cool, because then you were talking about pollinator preservation and habitat restoration and those sorts of things. What grows in the urban area? What can I make? You know that it grows there. Now I can make more of it happen, as opposed to hoping that what I plant grows. You've got a heads up on on what they're doing already.
Yeah, great point, Kim, because I wanted to quick share with you that that's one of the biggest questions I get when I do my presentations, especially my pollinator garden one. What should I plant for the bees?
Yeah.
And exactly, this is going to give us more data. It appears like the bees are really using this resource over another one. And so you're right, that it's giving us data of how we can plant to help support our bees even more.
Well, the next part of that question, or the next part of that situation, is you've got bees way out in the country, kind of in the country, urban, suburban country, and I'm guessing that after the amount of time you've been at this, you can, with some accuracy and confidence, say, yeah, the bees in the middle city have these problems, the bees in the suburban have these problems, the bees out in the country have these problems. So if you're going to put bees on the roof in the middle of downtown Detroit, this is the thing to look for first?
Yeah, it's interesting because I this is part of some of my presentations that I do, that I ask people, I poll them to ask which of those areas do you think the bees do have a highest survival rate or more honey. And it always surprises people that my urban bees do the best. More honey production, more winter survival. And Best Bees, as actually I mentioned them again, have done a lot of studies on this. And it's due to diversity of plant life. And it almost like your brain doesn't understand that, because you're like, wait, in the city? But we've created such mono societies out in the rural areas that there's not as much diversity. In suburbia, people, we're still stuck in that rut of that perfectly groomed yard and using Roundup and pesticides. And a lot of people don't want to have a lot of maintenance in their yard. And so it's a lot of shrubberies that aren't really the most beneficial to our pollinators. And so it kind of makes sense. But it is fun to talk about that with people in presentations.
I can see an entrepreneur very soon coming up with his Bees in the D seed mix
Yes.
that would flourish in downtown, flourish in the suburbs, and maybe out in the country too. So that you could now that you know what they're doing, you can even make it better for them by doing something like that.
I like the way you think.
Better Bee is pleased to sponsor today's episode of Beekeeping Today podcast. For over 40 years, Better Bee has supplied beekeepers across the country with the tools, equipment, and knowledge needed to succeed. Because many Better Bee employees are beekeepers themselves, they understand your needs and challenges and are better prepared to answer your beekeeping questions. From their colorful catalog to their support of beekeeper educational activities, including this podcast, Better Bee truly lives up to their tagline of beekeepers serving beekeepers. See for yourself at betterbee.com.
Well, one of the other things coming up is you've got a botanical garden coming up and a building. Is that right?
Yeah, so we are breaking ground this spring, actually on Earth Day, April 22nd.
Very cool.
On the Michigan Pollinator Center. And we bought some lots from the land bank of Detroit. They're vacant lots that have turned back to basically nature. And we are putting up a building, a small like blueprint of a building, because it's we want people outside. And so, but it will have some educational aspects there, including rooftop beehives that are on a green roof, and then a deck that allows people that they could watch from the inside, or they could get suited up with us and go in the hives. But then we also are looking at a phase 2 of buying almost the rest of the block that is in core city of Detroit. And we're doing a mini botanical gardens. And what I mean by that is, when you think of a botanical gardens, it's this large, spacious acres and acres, and there's different themed gardens throughout. Well, we want to kind of do that, but shrink it down. And so people will be able to walk through a lot or two that is a cottage garden. And then they can walk through a growing garden. And then they can walk through a sensory garden, because we want people to see the different styles of plantings that they can do for their yards, and find the one that's a good fit for them, but also show them that no matter which garden you're doing, there are plants that are very beneficial to our pollinators. not just bees. I mean, butterflies, hummingbirds, moths. There's so many different pollinators that people don't even realize are out there.
Oh, that's really cool. I really like that. That's really a smart approach. I mean, each lot could have its own focus, its own flora, its own approach.
Exactly. And it allows you to kind of be able to encounter it in one, like in a shorter amount of time.
Right.
And so we're very excited about that. And there's going to be a lot of education also about sustainability with the green roofs, with rain gardens, with water collection to talk about that. More permeable, like the paths and stuff are not going to be concrete. So we're trying to really educate about that as well, because in Michigan, the rains this last summer were just, the flooding was horrible. Mm-hmm. And I think we're starting to realize we've got to have a plan for where this water is going to go. And so we want to help people realize that we can still have businesses and things like that, and we can create it in a way that we can be in harmony with nature a little bit more.
One of the things that I saw on your webpage, a very well done webpage, by the way. I encourage people to go take a look at it because there's a lot of good information. But one of the headers on the top of the first page was donate. And my question is, you got your fingers in a lot of pies here, and you've got fingers in more pies coming up in the future. Where does the funding for this come from? Can I ask?
Yeah, actually, we are so fortunate because I think people really sense our passion. And I really do feel like bees are hot. I kind of call them the new pandas, that people are starting to realize their importance. And, the Save the Bee campaign, a lot of people get stuck in thinking of just honeybees, but Save the Bees are all our pollinators. And so we have very generous people that donate. But the fun part for us is all the partnerships that we have. So by working with Chrysler, well, now it's Stellantis, and working with GM and working with the convention center or Bedrock or these larger hotels, there are maintenance fees. And then a lot of them get the honey, which then are used in the kitchens there. You get the honey right from the roof down for the restaurant. And that also it helps us with funding as well. And so, and then I also have to share that we do outsell our honey. That's kind of the cherry on top with having honeybees, that there is a product that we can sell. And we also make our own lip balms from the wax that is left over from the harvest. And we have partnerships with Motor City Candle that makes candles. And then they give us 50% of the profit of their beeswax candles that they make. So a lot of really fun partnerships. One that I have to share, and maybe I shared it last time. We have bees up on the Detroit City Distillery. It's a wonderful place that makes the best bourbon. And we actually now take, for the last 3 years now, 55 gallons of honey and put it in a bourbon barrel and let that age for 3 months. And then it takes on that bourbon flavor. Then they put bourbon back in the barrel to have a honey bourbon, and we have a bourbon honey. And we did 500 jars of honey this year, and it sold out in 2 hours. And it's just things like that people are totally looking forward to that really help us financially as well.
So where can I go and put my name on the list that I want to get one of those bottles?
You are not the first. We get emails all year long. We do it every Black Friday because it's perfect Christmas gift. And now it's formed other partnerships with there's a leather company here that uses recycled car leather called Pingree. And we've made now the bourbon honey coasters, and we have bourbon honey glasses. And it's become crazy. But yeah, people email us, how do I get on the list? And it's like, you just got to do the pre-sale on Black Friday.
Who do I need to know to get a bottle of it?
Exactly.
I might know somebody that might be able to help you out.
That would be great. I was, I think I tried getting that last time. I must have been a minute late or something. It was 2 hours and 1 minute. It was like.
The great news is the bourbon, they can make quite a bit more because they can, take honey and supplement that to make the bourbon. And so this year they did make quite a bit more. So they actually still had the bourbon for sale for about a week afterwards.
Oh, very good.
But the honey is very limited because, we're at the mercy of the bees.
Hey, we've spent a little bit more time on the bourbon than I was really. Well, actually, it sounds like a great idea, but the whole concept of the hub sounds really cool, and I think it's a great approach, great for the community. Can we talk a little bit more about the hub?
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word hub because we use that word too. That finally, Bees in the D is going to have like a home base.
Yeah,
because all of our office and stuff, all of that, we're just out of our own home. But because we're at many different locations, but we also have storage there. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great place for us to have our headquarters. But when we started to look at the vision for this, we realized it was much bigger than just Bees in the D.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to be a destination to learn about all of our pollinators and a destination to enjoy nature right in the heart of the city. I mean, it's in core city. It's that name because it's right in the core. And so we're very excited about the neighborhood we're a part of because there's other projects that are a lot of urban gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a really great fit. We actually already have some bees at one of the gardens that's right down the street from where that is. And that's what brought us to that area.
All right. All right. That sounds like a great place for an observation hive. Are you considering an observation hive for the hub?
Yeah, I'm toying with the idea. I do love observation hives. I know that they can be a little bit difficult on the bees and we want what's best for the bees, but they've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
The mite treatment and stuff, now how you can treat observation hives, but in the past it was very difficult to be able to do that. So I am investigating that, but I would love that. But the crown jewel of the center for me is the observation deck that's upstairs on the second floor where they can, the hives will literally be right out the window so people can feel like they're right next to the hives, but be behind glass.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a giant observation hives, if you will, where you're seeing. And then we're planning to have, like, if I'm giving a tour inside of the hive, I can go right up to the windows because the hives are right there and have a microphone that then projects, my voice into the center. But even here at the Outdoor Adventure Center, right down the river from where we live, we have 4 hives and we have internal cameras in one of the hives and one external camera, and that projects into the education center. So you can see the bees in the education center inside and the activity on the outside. And the cool thing is we also partner with DTE. They provided a solar panel. So it's all the power that's needed for it is done by the sun. And so it's just kind of fun sustainability projects like that are pretty cool. So we're hoping to do the same at the center as well.
I'll throw something out at you here. And I've seen this done before in other places. And the icing on the cake is a microphone that you're
in the hive?
Yeah. So you're seeing what's in the hive and you're hearing what's in the hive. And it adds a level of complexity, but also attention.
You know what, Kim, it's funny you say that because when I talk to people about our hive dives, as we call them, or experiences, I always say that all of your senses are tickled. I mean, obviously watching the bees is magical. And then hearing the bees is like, you're right. It just brings it up a notch. And then getting to taste and then the smell, as beekeepers, that smell is just amazing. And I love when we take the Girl Scouts, because we brought back the Girl Scout patch and we bring the girls into the hive to earn that patch. But I love to get a drone bee after we're done with the experience and let the girls hold the drone because, as you know, male bees don't have stingers. And so we don't have to worry about that and let them touch the bee and feel the bee as it's crawling on their hands. It's just all the senses are really are perked, when you go into a hive.
One of the neatest things that I've seen it a lot of times, but I never tire of it, is when you have somebody like that, a young person, and you take that drone and it puts it in their hand and they vibrate their wings. And you you get that vibration in your fingers and it goes up your arms, and it's the look on their face is.
I will only warn that you have to let the child know that it's a drone and it won't sting you, because I have my daughter, when she was 2 or 3, I used to take her to the bee yards and teach her bees and did the same thing with a drone. And then, I don't know, several days later, she went at her friend's house and was showing everybody how nice honeybees were. And she tried to pick one up off a clover or something like that. And boy, was she surprised. And she remembers that to this day. She blames me, but it's I say that in jest, but also in some cautionary tale.
That's one reason with Bees in the D. If you ever watch any of my educational videos, I'm always gloved. I'm always with a veil when I'm on video, because I don't want that misunderstanding. And you just made the point right there. And so I do always tell the kids after the tour, I let them know that you're, with a professional beekeeper. And so unless you're with a beekeeper or you have learned how to do beekeeping, you don't want to, try some of these things on your own, because for that very reason.
You're right.
I do feel like a lot of times when we see some of these videos with people, doing all kinds of things with beehives, bees are very docile, but they are just like humans. Like sometimes they're having a bad day, or they may be queenless, or the weather may be turning, and there could be a misunderstanding. Right. And I just want to keep people safe and protected, because that's right there at the top of the list of what's, you have to really educate people about.
Absolutely. No, that's good. Good point. Good point.
You mentioned Girl Scouts. Do you have other classes going on in the middle of all of these?
Yeah. So you heard me kind of say that the pandemic opened up a lot of new things, and it opened up the virtual world. I have been doing presentations now across the nation, actually across the pond, if you will, beekeeping's pretty big in Europe. And so they've heard about, the beekeeping that's happening here in Detroit and Bees in the D. And so I've been doing presentations virtually for them, Texas, California. And so that has allowed me to do a lot of educating. Probably my most popular class, if you will, I would say it's more of just a workshop or a session, is my Pollinators Garden one, because it gives you kind of a little glimpse at bees and beekeeping. It's not training to be a beekeeper, but it just kind of gives some people some knowledge about it. And then I go into a lot of the plants that are beneficial for our bees and what they need. I'm a huge gardener as well. I actually, here in Michigan, this past summer, got my Master Gardener's certificate as well. And so I love educating about that, because gardening is really something, even somebody in an apartment can have a pot on their patio that has plants in it that bees love to stop by.
You have that exactly right. Are these virtual programs that you do, are they on your webpage? Can I go and listen to one?
Yep. So if you go, no, I don't have recordings of them, but they're listed. If you go down over to education, it has just a brief little description of them, of what it is. And then people can reach out to us. But I have not recorded them and put them on the website. However, when I do presentations with libraries, a lot of times they ask if they can record it. And I'm like, of course. And a lot of times they link it up to their library as well. The Girl Scout patch, because of COVID and not being able to do the tours, I actually did make a 45-minute hive dive video that the girls could watch to kind of have that section. But I'm so excited this spring. We already have some on the calendar. We're getting to get back to suiting up the kids and letting them come into the hives live. So finally, right?
In your presentations, do you have, are there other organizations, other groups, other individuals trying to kind of copy your model in their, whatever, name your town, but bees in
it's interesting you say that. I kind of joke with people that sometimes like people ask us all the time, like, why are you training new beekeepers? I mean, aren't you creating more competition? And I don't understand that mindset. It's like, no, that's our whole purpose. We want people to have greater knowledge about bees. We want there to be more people that are helping with the cause. And so I kind of joke that I have like the Elon Musk mentality, because for people that don't know that, his technology with the cars, it's open. Like he wants people to know about it because he wants other people to kind of model it because it's better for our earth. And so, yeah, I love passing this stuff on. And actually, we've had quite a few cities that have reached out to us about our Pollinator Center. And as soon as there's a lot that goes into it with the blueprints and the, getting the different contractors, but we plan to package that all up so that if cities do approach us, we can say, here's all the legwork we did. Yeah. Make the magic happen elsewhere, because that's what we want. It's not, I have a little saying that I say to people all the time. It's about the bees, not the keeper. It's not about the keeper. It's not about me. It's not even about bees in the D. It's about our pollinators. And so that's what we really want people to understand, that we love having success, but part of having success is sharing that success and that knowledge so that there can be success all over the place.
Well, that's really a great approach, a great message.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think sometimes we get into this mentality of that competition word again, and it's like, that's not what this is about.
Right. That's really, really good.
I can almost see a Bees in the D YouTube channel coming up here fairly soon.
Yeah, we do have a few YouTube videos, but I just, with having the full-time job and all of that, like it's okay. I mean, I like to put up the videos, and some of them have gotten a lot of hits, but I'm not looking necessarily to go viral or anything, because I really kind of have a feeling that the more viral you go, the more criticism you get as well. And so I just want to focus on doing what's great for our pollinators. That's in education. If people you can see that I love to talk, and I'm very passionate about this, and people get an earful about bees all the time, but they just sit there in awe because these creatures are so amazing and complex. Yeah. And when people hear about some of just the basic facts about bees, they're like, no way. It almost doesn't seem real because it's so amazing.
And you're absolutely right. So where do you see Bees in D in the next couple of years? Where are you going? You're working on the education center, and you're working on botanical gardens.
Botanical gardens. Yeah, I really see that being a big focus. And we just want to create a space where people can come and learn, school groups, camps, just families that want to just experience these gardens and looking at the hives. So I think that's where a lot of our focus is going to go. Of course, we'll still keep our partnerships because that's very important. But we really want the attention to go to this more central Pollinator Center, because a lot of our partnerships, it's more Bees in the D in that company. Like I can't bring all these people up on the roof of, certain places. And so this is going to allow a lot more of the general public to be involved. And I'm very excited about that.
And rightly so.
One of the things, just real quick, other people around the country that have partnerships like you do you mentioned a few companies, and you've got bees up on their roof. If you're a hotel or a place that serves food, you're able to take that honey and put it right into recipes, and they can really, these are our bees, the bees up on the roof here. But the companies like, you mentioned Chrysler, and it's not Chrysler anymore, it's something else.
Atlantic, yeah.
The people that work in that building, you've got bees on their roof. Do they get a chance to see the bees, eat the honey, take advantage of what you're doing up there?
Yeah, there's every partnership looks a little different. So there's a company that actually we're going to deliver it next week, Fardman, that owns properties throughout the nation, and we have bees up on the roof, and we try to, as much as possible, schedule when we're going to go in and do our hive inspections. And I always keep extra bee suits in my vehicle so that if people do want to join for that, I can educate them. Because like I said, I like to talk and I'll talk you through everything. But it's kind of cool. What they do with their honey is they're smaller jars. They have the proper label, because our label, you have to have the proper information. But then on the top is another sticker that kind of talks about the partnership with them. And they actually pass the honey out to their clients and to people that work there or people that rent from their building. And that has opened up actually other doors to other buildings that we're at or other companies. And so there's a lot of creative things like that being done because everybody loves honey. I mean, it's liquid gold. And so, they do get an opportunity, especially if they're interested. And what's fun for me is in some locations, there's one or two people that are super excited about beekeeping and interested, and I get to kind of mentor them. And then eventually it can get to the point where they can take over. Like they now feel comfortable with the hives, and they know that they're just a phone call away from me if they need it. And so I can pass the torch on to them. And that's kind of what our model's all about. We want to do that.
So is there anything that we haven't asked you about that you're just chomping at the bit to talk about?
Oh, I can't really think of anything. There's just so much going on. It's so crazy.
It is exciting.
It's so fun to be a part of so many. And we now get a lot of the colleges that reach out and have volunteers that want to help out. And that really excites me because I was nervous there for a while. There was that they were kind of saying that beekeeping is dying. Like there's not young people that are interested in it, but I'm seeing that kind of change. And the fact that we have hives at like Martin Luther King High School right here in Detroit and other schools to get the kids excited, that means the world to me, because then we know that we're helping to train the next generation of beekeepers, because our food industry and our ecosystem needs these pollinators.
Well, I couldn't have said it better. I think you've summed it up nicely there in terms of what your goals are and how you're accomplishing them extraordinarily well. I think I must commend you on the tasks that you've taken on and the advantages that you've given people to learn pollination, all of that, all of the above. So this has been good. I'm going to have to take a trip to Detroit. I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you guys do. That would be fun to see you guys in person. And hopefully when you're here, the center's done, and to give you a little tour of the center and the gardens, that would be great. That'd
be really good. Well, we've been talking with Brian Peterson-Roest of Bees in the D. We look forward to our next update from you and look forward to the getting out to Detroit to see you here, especially once the education center's open up and going. That'd be great fun. Great fun.
Yeah. It's always great to be with you guys. Thank you for all that you do to spread the word about beekeeping as well.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Always great to see you guys.
I think I said this last time. Brian he must just live on caffeine and coffee. All the work that they're doing. Plus, he's a 5th grade teacher. He has a lot of energy. I give him credit.
Well, he really does. I'm just tired just sitting here. I'm sitting here listening to him, and I'm tired. I can see, but he's got a lot of good projects, and a couple of things that I see that he's learned from the past, and he's taken direction from people who are doing things different than he is. So he's not. What's the word I want? He's not self-directed. He's all-encompassing. Everything that's good, he seems to be adopting.
I was fascinated, keyed on the point that he made that they are selling and marketing the local and varietal honeys, or varietal to the location that it was harvested. And I think that is really key. I think in this day and age where beekeepers are struggling with prices for honey and everything, that's where the small beekeeper sideliner can really monopolize on this, is promoting local honey and promoting varietal honeys. And the fact that they're doing that is really cool there in Bees in the D.
And smart. Rather than selling a commodity, they're selling a local homegrown product.
That's right.
And,
it's like their bourbon honey, bourbon flavored honey. No, bourbon flavored honey and honey bourbon.
Flavored bourbon.
It's very local and very, very specific. When it's gone, it's gone. That's how you increase the market price of something. Make it valuable.
Limit the supply and increase the demand, and the price goes up. Exactly right. I worked with some people out in Washington a number of years ago who were doing the same thing, and they ran into the same issue. You limited the supply and increased the demand, and they couldn't keep up, and the prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
So he's onto something there, and I urge him to continue to be onto something there as long as he gives me a bottle.
You're going to have to go there to pick it up, I think.
I think you're right. Yep.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for this show. Before we go, I want to encourage our listeners to rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, wherever you download and stream the show. Your vote helps other beekeepers find us quicker. Even better, write a review and let other beekeepers looking for a new podcast know what you like. You can get there directly from our website by clicking on the reviews along the top of any web page. As always, we thank Bee Culture, the magazine for American beekeeping, for their continued support of Beekeeping Podcast. We also want to thank Global Patties. Check them out at www.globalpatties.com. We want to thank Hive Alive for returning as a sponsor. Check them out at www.usa.hivealives.com. And we also want to thank Strong Microbials for their support. Check out their probiotic line at www.strongmicrobials.com. We want to thank Better Bee for joining us. As always, check out their bee supplies at www.betterbee.com. Northern Bee Books for their continued support of Bee Books Old and New with Kim Flodham. And finally, and most importantly, we want to thank you, the Beekeeping Today podcast listener, for joining us on this show. Feel free to send us questions and comments at questions@beekeepingtodaypodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. Kim, anything else?
One last thing. Up on the top of the screen when you go to the webpage, there's a button to share. And if there's somebody that you think might benefit from what the bees and the bee are doing, or they've got a program somewhere that they might be able to hook up with them, share the program with them and get more information to more people.
And I'll just add one last thought. If you like this show, if you want to provide any feedback or comments, we have now implemented on our show as the ability to leave comments directly on our website for this show. So make sure you do that. Let's get a discussion going. Thanks a lot, everybody.